So today I'd like to share with you and in that reflect on how I discovered one of my core values, which is love. And the way I define love is actually connection with other people and in that creating meaningful relationships. So I think I was at that time, I was about, I don't know, it's a guess, but perhaps 3 years in business. And I consistently felt like I'm building business as usual. And if you've seen my previous video, I've talked about different business models and businesses that I have created and tried out for myself and failed at. So as I was going through my entrepreneurial journey, building different ventures, I have been progressively realizing through failure that something isn't working for me. And so one of those failures, again, feeling that I constricted in business, made me search for a different resource, a different mentor. Just I kept learning, and perhaps this is one of the biggest lessons that I could share with you. Whenever you feel that there is a gap, like you don't know something, it is not about who you are, because that's how I saw it initially. When I didn't know something, I thought I wasn't able to do something, as opposed to no, it's just a gap in my skill set and I need to learn. So intuitively, while my head was thinking I didn't know enough, intuitively I always leaned into learning and looking for new resource in order to find the answer. And so the answer I was looking at the time, again, I didn't know what I was looking at the time, but I was looking for how to structure a business that I feel that the business that I could run for a long time, that felt like I could build and grow this thing. And so one of the very first personality tests that I did, it was about character strengths. And again, I will include the link below so you can do the test as well, and perhaps it will spark some ideas for you. And in that test, I discovered that my top character strengths was love. And the definition of love there was something along the line of building meaningful relationships. And it made me think at that time, with that kind of mindset that I had at the time, I was thinking, oh, that's great. Now I find that all I need in business is love. That's great. I couldn't figure it out. Like, how do I put love into business, even though I have always approached business with care and love and worked with clients in the way that I naturally do, because I naturally always cared for relationships. And so what happened in that test, I surfaced something that I did naturally but cognitively didn't. Sorry, there is something, an airplane flying. So I surfaced something that I automatically did and cared for, but I didn't consciously realize. And that first discovery led me to think about love, led me to think about how do I bring love into my businesses, how do I build relationships. And like, it was the first step that brought it to my awareness, and then after I discovered a lot of other things that made me realize that I actually don't know how to build deep and meaningful relationships that are beneficial for both parties, that are authentic. And in that, I want to share that with you, because discovering what you value, or let me talk about me. Discovering what I valued led me onto the next step, understanding what that value means and how it plays out in my life and in my business. So specifically in terms of love, I have always knew that love and care is who I am. Like, it's at the core of my nurture. Like, at my core, I'm a freedom loving person. At my nurture, I'm a very loving, caring person. And as I've learned recently, nurture and nature just work together, and it's interconnected in the ways that it's just like interwoven together. So it's hard to separate them. So I look at love and care in my business as, let me take a step back. So what it led me to then starting learning about love and how to build meaningful relationships. And it spilled over obviously into my personal life, into my friendships, and into my business. And I realized that one, I don't know what, like I was a giver. I didn't know how to receive. So there was no flow of interchange of ideas or services or, that flow of give and receive. So I started learning how to receive. And then I discovered that I used to be a people pleaser. By the virtue of caring for people, I would sorry, I just want to go a little bit faster. My head is there, but my expression isn't. So let me take a step back. Where was I? I was talking about... Yes, so in that journey, I've discovered that I'm also a people pleaser, which before I didn't think that it applied to me. And I actually didn't know that term, to be absolutely honest. And so, having discovered that, I've discovered that all of my relationships in my life, I build based on being liked or wanting to be liked, because I too wanted to be liked, right? So I was pulled by the emotion of needing to be liked. There's so much in this. I do hope that it comes across, that you can kind of really experience that, because there's so much learning and pain in all of this that I'm sharing with you, and I really want to make your path easier. And if you could learn from my experience, I'm happy to give you and share with you everything I've learned so that you can move forward with a bit more ease. So coming back to people pleasing, by virtue of wanting to be loved myself, I had modified myself for each relationship that I had. And in that modification, I actually lost myself. And I came sort of like starting my business from not knowing who I am to then going many, many years later and discovering that I thought I knew who I was, but I actually don't. Or even if I knew who I wasn't expressing who I was. And in that sense, having a lot of relationships around me were not authentic, because those relationships were built on the person that I'm not. Once I started seeing that, I was like, I was building relationships because I care about deep and meaningful relationships, and yet I wasn't authentic myself. And that meant all of the relationships that I cared for actually didn't know me. And that was, it was a big thing. It's still something I'm working through. And when I started working through that, I started realigning my relationships for mutual respect, mutual understanding, for the things that I valued in each relationship, such as in my personal relationships. I realized that I've learned that it's easier to fall in love than stand in love, and that being in love with my husband is about helping each other to realize ourselves. That's not the definition I knew before. And when I discovered that, I was like, that makes sense, you know? And so I've redefined that in my personal relationship with my husband. And then I brought the same, but a different version of what does love and relationship, or what kind of relationships I want as friendships. I realized that all of my friendships were built on one-sidedness. I felt in most of my relationships that I'm not heard, I'm not considered, and it wasn't a flow, like, you know. I realized that realize so many things. That's why you hear so many words. I realized. But in my friendships, when I look at my phone, I started seeing that I was the person that was reaching out to people. I was the person that was checking in. I was the person that was supporting. I was the person that was giving. And there were only a few people that would call me just because. And in that, I started realizing that a lot of relationships that I have are actually not aligned with the kind of friendships I want to have. And then in business as well, I started differentiating those kind of relationships and defining what love and care means for me in the business, with my business partners, with my business clients, with my business customers. And that is actually where I am right now. I'm looking at it and defining, how does this relationship need to look to nurture both of the parties. And that is that is where business, as I said before in the previous video, is that journey that continually has been expanding my mind, has been stretching me, and has been helping me to discover myself, such as I'm talking about in this video, such as discovering my value of love and care for relationships, and then completely needing to reinvent my life because that value was not present in the form that was most valued by me as well. So I hope this video gives you an insight into how one thing leads to another, but how important values are, and bringing them into discovering them first, defining, and then bringing them into your every aspect of your life, and specifically business, is essential for you to feel alive, really.